Welcome back to BathBrickers. My name is Rich, and in today's video we are going to be thinking about the Dungeons and Dragons new collectible minifigure series. So I don't know if you know this, but in a previous video I have talked a little bit about collectible minifigure series, and the two things that I've said are, number one, even though I'm a Bricklink seller and I know that having minifigures in the store, particularly the series ones, is really important, um, I just find it a little bit boring. Now, I don't know if that's sacrilege, and I do know that collectible minifigure series are like the bread and butter of any store, or if you're doing Lego shows or anything like that. You know, I know that they're important, and I know that lots of people are looking for them. They're always wanting to finish off their collections, and particularly when people get the new series come out, people want to, you know, get the new ones because that's the best time to do it. And very often you'll see sellers, you know, totally rightly buying boxes, you know, making sure that they've got, you know, full sets and then selling those on. My sort of thought with that is I do find it a little bit boring personally. I'm just not that interested in sort of going through and helping people find, no, that's not right. I like it when people find what they want. It's just not for me in terms of getting the, you know, all of the sets together and sort of sharing, you know, and getting them out there for people. And the other bit is like the margins of them just aren't, it's just not great. You know, if you're one of the first to do it, you know, and even if you find it in a supermarket or something before it happens, terrific, and you might do really well. But I just, you know, for the sake of 50, 60p, maybe a pound, you know, per minifigure or something like that. Um, Not to be sniffed at, of course. You know, that £10 can be reinvested, etc., etc. It's just not for me. I'm just not that interested. Nevertheless, when a new minifigure series does come out, though, there's a couple of things that I like to do. And so I'm going to take you through the Dungeons and Dragons minifigures that I have bought from them just being released. So I'm recording this in early September and it's just been released at the start of September. And I will share with you what I have done, the figures that I've bought, and why I've bought those figures. And hopefully that will just give you a little bit of insight into how I go about these things with collectible minifigure series. Okay, so I have bought 4 of the figures from the Dungeons and Dragons collectible minifigure series. So I just thought I'd go through them and say why I've got those, and whether they're for our collection or whether they're for parts that might be in the store and so on. The point that I think I really wanted to make is that what I do with the pieces that I've got left over is I don't tend to sell them as the minifigures. I actually tend to pass out the minifigures as well. So that's really good, both in terms of the variety of minifigure parts that people have got for their collections and or for scenes and for mocks that they want to make, but it's also really good in terms of the lot count as well on the store. So that's one thing that I like to do. So of the 12 that are in the D&D minifigure series, these are the 4 that I have focused on and I'm sort of particularly interested in. So I'm going to go through each of them. I've left them in the boxes, although I've opened them just for a little bit of danger. I did use, of course, the Brick Search app, which in a previous videos I've said does take away a little bit of the romance of when you used to feel the packets, but you know, it's still incredibly useful, and of course people are going to do that as they rightly should, just to take away the luck element. So what have we got here? I'm going to move these ones over here to the side. So the first of the figures that I was interested in was this one, which by the way, I am not a Dungeons and Dragons fan. I think it's partly because my parents, I don't know, did everyone else's parents, like in the 80s, think that it was something to do with devil worship or sort of satanic rituals and things? I don't know what that was all about. Anyway, so I don't know very much about Dungeons and Dragons. But they've got good minifigures. So the first one is this guy called Dragonborn Paladin. So this one I think is going to be one of the most popular figures, and primarily I think because of the it's a little bit sort of castle like, isn't it? So it's got this amazing body armor with some fantastic detailing here. really good shield, some interesting gold bits, and of course this. So I think that's going to be popular, and indeed if you look at some of the Bricklink costs already, for what people have sold these at, these are, you know, are going to be really popular. So I will always be on the lookout for one of those if it comes up. So that is the first one that I've been looking at, and that is Dragonborn Paladin. Apparently, no idea what that means in the context of Dungeons and Dragons. The second one that I am particularly interested in, and you can see that I've already taken out the checklist from this one, is this minifigure, which is called the Tiefling Sorcerer, I believe. And most of this, I've got to say, is not particularly interesting to me. The minifigure base plate is good. Orange coloured skin tone is pretty interesting. Maybe some people are interested in the orange tail. But obviously, the bit that is most interesting is the dragon. The little mini micro dragon. So as I've said on other videos before, I do collect all of the little micro statuettes and trophies, and I also collect all of the slightly strange animals as well. So this little fella right here is the reason why I got the Tiefling Sorcerer. And I think people will want these, and they'll want to have them on buildings as gargoyles, or perhaps entrance gates to big mansions. Particularly cool as we come up to Halloween. So that is another of the figures, reasons why I've bought some of these figures. And I'll be getting quite a lot of these little dragons. Is it I don't know if it's a dragon or what it is. What else would it be? Not sure. Okay, here is the third of the 4 figures that I'm interested in when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, and this is the Mind Flayer, which I thought was a character in Stranger Things. I've not watched Stranger Things, so I don't know if it is or not. Again, most of this is pretty, I mean, I was going to say normal, but, you know, could you really say that's normal? I'm not entirely sure. But the piece that I was interested in is this one, which is, I think the best way to describe it is a brain on legs. Is that right? I don't know what it actually is in the context of Dungeons and Dragons. But again, little strange mini creature thing that I think is good. It reminds me of, now I'm going to get this wrong. There was, I'm going to have to think about that and come back to you on it. There was a little funny thing that didn't have any face in it, that was a key part of a film. Oh God, my brain is just losing it. I'll tell you what it is if I can remember. So anyway, I've got that to go in the little micro figure collection. And then the final one is this chap. And this chap is the Elf Bard. And I have the Elf Bard not because I am particularly keen on elves, although I believe this is probably going to be pretty popular if you think for Christmas scenes. You know, the idea of an elf earpiece with head, I think, would be good. Probably good for Lord of the Rings as well. I don't know if you could make a Bilbo Baggins or something from that. But the reason I got this minifigure is for the loot. I have one copy of every of the instruments that LEGO has ever made, and so I think this will go along with that collection. Really lovely prints, some sort of metallic silver, intricate gold weaving there, and it's just a nice shape. I think the mold has been done before, but with that print, this is new, so that's why I got this minifigure. And then it will have these other interesting parts that I can part out as well. So you can see here, you know, I'm going to end up with, if these were all new lots, that's say 5, 10, 15 new lots for the store, which is fantastic in terms of variety. People will love to get, you know, all of the different heads and new torsos or legs and so on. And it allows me to continue to build the collection of various interesting bits and pieces that I have. So just really interesting there for you to have a sense of which minifigures I thought were interesting from the Dungeons and Dragons new collectible minifigure series, and why I've chosen those, be it for personal collection in terms of, you know, instruments or weird animals, or whether because they're going to be popular, I think, with buyers who will want them either because they're of the figure or because of the different parts within it, like the body armor here. So I hope that that was useful. As I said right at the start, I'm not in any way down on people and sellers doing the minifigure series. You know, lots of people collect them. They're really popular. You know, it's a great way of making small margins. Of course, it can help you with the sort of turnover of your store. It helps you get more lots into the store. It helps you like get more customers that you can do more feedback. People might be picking stuff up in addition when they come to your store. You know, totally up for that. And maybe in the future, you know, if we expand this beyond, you know, just a little bit of a hobby that we do on the side, and it becomes more serious, then I'm sure we'll probably get into that. But hopefully, just by going through when we see a new collectible minifigure series, what we find interesting and what we're looking for our own collection. So whether it's the little weird micro animals or the statuettes, whether it's different coloured instruments or different prints of instruments, or just pieces that go into our wider collection, be it either of minifigures, and you can just see them up here in the corner, or it's the different parts that we have. Then hopefully it was interesting for us to just see that. Also hopefully interesting, and that in terms of the remainder of the minifigures that we have, then we tend to part those out, and so that tends to be quite interesting. And of course, because we sell and we're using that to try and invest in our hobby, you know, if there are pieces that we know are going to be desirable in the future, such as the Dark Pig Space Baby, then we, or the goat, of course, then we will buy a few of those. Probably annoy people, to be completely honest. You know, I understand that, but we will buy those so that we've got a few of those in the store in the future. Obviously, the supply on them is going to be much higher, so the level of cost or price of those in the future is not going to be as high as some of the other rarer pieces that you get. But it's still useful to have those in the store, I think. So I hope that was interesting. This is what you'll get from us, is a very open view as to what we do buy and sell as part of our hobby and the Bricklink store, and what we are interested and not interested in. So yeah, I hope that's been helpful, and it's just been interesting to hear a different perspective on these things. So thanks ever so much for watching. We love having you here, and we will see you again next time.